Hello, everyone. We have a lot to cover today. We have North Korea, we have international news, we have domestic news, we have human interest stories. So let's go. This is an older story. This is from yesterday. And remember, situation and information changes day in, day out. So, math time. Remember, North Korea sent 10 to 11,000 people to Russia, actually to Ukraine, but they didn't know they were going to Ukraine at the time. So, right now, the number of casualties is between 3 and 4,000. So, that's like a third to almost a half of them. And that's not just Ukrainian military reporting this, this is also South Korean observers reporting this. And despite the fact that North Korean government insists that their soldiers are gaining valuable military experience, evidence collected so far speaks to the opposite. They are not gaining anything. They still lack understanding of the modern warfare. They still basically don't know much. There is still the language barrier. The attempts to use North Korean soldiers as bait to shoot down drones didn't work out very well, particularly for North Koreans involved. So it's not been great. And I'm kind of wondering what Russian government is going to do now that they've hung that particular millstone around their necks, and what happens next. The new NATO chief says Ukraine needs to be able to negotiate from the position of strength, and he's right. And Ukraine is not there at this time. He's right about that as well. He says all the right things. My question is, NATO, y'all, you had almost 3 years to secure Ukraine's position of strength if you truly want this war to be over. You had options. You could have accepted Ukraine into NATO. You could have provided some type of provisional protection while Ukraine's application for NATO was being considered. There's all kinds of things folks could have been doing. Unfortunately, the impetus is only just taking place. So, you'll need to think about this because Trump's getting sworn in next week, next Monday. And war is still going on. And that position of strength, not there. Slovakian Prime Minister invited Zelensky to come to Slovakia. He's one of the ones who is pushing for negotiations at all costs, regardless of the circumstances. So Zelensky said, no, we're not doing that. How about you come to Kyiv? Again, in this particular case, despite my dislike for Zelensky and disagreement with him on a lot of things, I agree with him. Anybody who is suggesting negotiations at all costs should come to Ukraine first. And then we'll talk. Now, this is cute. So, Russia is accusing Ukraine of energy terrorism. Really? Really? You guys are adorable. Ukraine is using energy terrorism? Ukraine is using gas blackmail? Give it up, guys. You realize, considering Russia's history of using that oil and gas supply to leverage their position in the world, this is highly insincere. Also, this is important, the second paragraph. Pokrovsk, remember, they have been fighting to get Pokrovsk for like months now and failed to capture it. So what they're doing now is trying to encircle it to cut off supply lines to it. That's actually happened in the past several times on more than one side when cities ended up in the occupied zone. The cities themselves were never taken. St. Petersburg comes to mind. The fortress of Brest comes to mind in Belarus. So this is not new. And again, it's a hint of how much resistance Ukrainians are putting up. Italy will sign an agreement with Ukraine and UNESCO to help rebuild and restore the famous Odessa Cathedral that was severely damaged during all of the various attacks by Russian military. So, I mean, that's good. We don't know when that's going to happen because shit's getting bombed all over Ukraine right now. The last time I spoke to my parents, I actually asked them, I said, is there any place safe in Ukraine? And they said, no, not really. Not even the Western Ukraine that's closer to Europe. No, the whole thing's getting carpet bombed. So this story is being covered by multiple sources about Ukraine strikes in Russia, a big drone and missile attack, and some seriously important targets struck. So there are some military factories struck, oil bases. One particular factory was a center for manufacturing gunpowder, explosive plastics, and things like that. So, what did we tell you about valid military targets, Russia? You should have evacuated areas around those. You've had a clue. And then there's this story is on BBC. This is human interest. I wanted to bring it here. This is from the area of how low can you stoop. So it talks about Russia's attempts to turn Ukrainians into traitors of their own country by blackmailing them using POWs as leverage. This woman's husband is an army medic, and he was taken POW. For a long time, she didn't know where he was, what was going on with him, or whether he was even alive. And then she received a phone call. The phone call came from a Ukrainian number, but the person on the other end of the line spoke with the Russian accent and basically suggested that she should carry out acts of terrorism against targets inside Ukraine, providing detailed instructions on what to do and how to do it. Fortunately, this woman was smart. She got this guy talking as much as possible, took screenshots of the call, and passed them on to Ukraine's intelligence. Not surprisingly, when she told the man that she wasn't interested in carrying out those acts, they started threatening her, telling her that her husband was in their custody, that he was being tortured, and it was all her fault. And through all of that pain and suffering, she still refused to cooperate. So that is my question again to Russians. How low can you stoop? Is it not bad enough that you have bombed out Ukrainian cities, kindergartens, hospitals, schools, cathedrals, churches? It's not bad enough for you? It's not bad enough that you treat Ukrainian POWs abominably, but you're also going to threaten and blackmail their loved ones? Fuck you. Slava Ukraini.